Gone live on YouTube. So we are on air. I don't know what's going to happen with this because yesterday it just stopped, didn't it? And today it's deciding that the audio is not something it wants to partake in. So let's see how we get on. But it is playing up a little bit.
So scans revealed no bugs, huh?
It did. No, it did reveal bugs. There was 4, I think, that have been put into quarantine.
Yep.
So I don't really know what that means. That means that they're still there, I guess. So yeah, we're still in the danger zone right now. So we'll see how we get on. But while we're on air, we got a few minutes before the FTSE 100 kicks off this morning. Everybody that was in the show yesterday should have heard you say that if they didn't hear me say that I was looking for a short. That you were just waiting for the market to come, break the daily pivot, and then move to the downside. And obviously, that would have been on a shorter term
exactly
time
what
frame.
I said.
Yeah, you did. You did. A little bit tricky probably here, but as soon as everybody saw this bar, then you should have been in this trade. I have actually closed the trade now. I did enter here and got a really good run to the downside. I've closed the trade now. Couple of reasons. The first thing is that there is a little bit of price and momentum divergence here. Now, that's not to say that I don't think it could break a little bit further, because it may. I still see the low. Where's the low? There is a low on a daily chart of. Is that 72.75? No, it can't be. That's what I want. There's a low of 72.01 and we're at 72.05. So there might be 4 pips left in this one, but I just didn't want to get caught in a potential swing straight back to the upside as the market was opening up. And also, the other reason I've taken the trade off is that the news just collapsed yesterday. We had news out of China that the trade deal was on the brakes were kind of hitting that trade deal, and then we had Donald Trump being potentially dragged through the bushes by Nancy Pelosi with this impeachment, and really that the impeachment kind of like was probably. The responsibility of this move was the reason for this move, that one last flush out. So it started with China, but then the impeachment thing just arose, and then we had this flush out. But I have to say, the more I kind of heard about the impeachment, the more I thought it's still kind of uncertain. So I don't know why the market would continue to collapse. I think it's much more likely to hold and then potentially collapse, after Donald Trump has released the papers of the phone call to the Ukraine. So I'd like to wait on that news before I hop in again, if I'm honest. If I was really keen on trading again, I would probably actually plump for the upside, which is, again, another reason that I've come out, because where I see us being is a fairly decent level of support down here, and I'll show you that on longer term time frames. This on the daily, it looks to me like a fairly decent level of support down here. And I've got a news story which is undeveloped. So because of that, I would really be looking for a bounce here.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but I don't really want to trade that bounce because there's some obvious fear out there. Now the other thing is that this morning we've also had the Chinese kind of come out and say that they're willing to be buying some pork belly from the United States. So maybe some of the trade rhetoric is kind of like started to look a bit more positive this morning as well. So there's a couple of reasons that I would be looking for the long rather than the short. And maybe I'll take it. I'm not going to take it just yet. I do want to see this hold for at least 5 minutes, but probably 15. Now, you see, this is why. This is to me that the kind of argument about the double tops and double bottoms and everything. To my mind, this qualifies as a double bottom. rather than this area here. And it's just, it's semantics. So I don't think that there's any right or wrong, but I much prefer. I mean, this isn't too bad actually, but I much prefer when the price genuinely moves away and then comes back again. So maybe this is okay thinking about it, because it did move away, and it even created a higher high. So double bottom. So I think we're looking at a triple bottom here. So actually, this is a decent looking trade to my mind, to the upside. If you're wrong, you're probably out fairly quickly. So I quite like this trade. I might just give it a few minutes, mate, and see if it holds for 15. And if it does, then I'll probably will trade this one to the upside and see if I can squeeze something out of this market early doors.
Sure. Going well, mate. Another winner. Beautiful. Very, very nice.
Yeah, we're doing okay, aren't we? We're on a pretty good run at the minute, you and I.
Yeah, not too bad. I've got a trade on the daily chart, trying to get back into Aussie Yen. I stuffed up a bit yesterday.
Now, somebody told me about the Aussie Yen yesterday.
What did they say?
Well, they were looking at it was interesting actually. They said there was an early indication for a short, and I suspect that probably did arise as well, didn't it?
Yeah, not really. For me, the only opportunity to go short was after the rally, and I think I said as much as there was, and in fact, I traded the long to the weekly pivot. But
okay.
Here's where I stuffed up.
Yeah, let's have a look. Let's have a look at your charts.
Sure. I went for dinner.
Oh, well, you can't really account for that.
Well, I can.
You got to eat, haven't you?
Sometimes. you can eat on the job. But, well, let me go back to the trade, I suppose, would be the idea. The trade was, and I said this in the show, so anybody who was watching the show should have seen this. And if they were of the ilk to trade it, then it was certainly sitting there. There were a couple of opportunities really, but this was the best of them, I thought, where we had a pullback away from the broken trend line, and there was an entry there, and I took that entry there, and there was definitely a profit level here at the weekly pivot, as I said, and I said also that I may even close the trade at that point. What I did do was I missed that. I actually missed the weekly pivot. I tend to go into my shell when that's the case, because that was the obvious target.
Oh yeah, do you know, I'm exactly the same. If I miss a trade, then I find it, which might well happen this morning, I find it really difficult to kind of go in the second wave, because your plan's done, isn't it? The plan that you had has kind of been broken. So I think in some respects it's sensible.
Well, what I did, and I think I was in the evening show at the time, I said, I've missed this, but if it goes back there, I'll certainly close it. And in the meantime, I'll move my stops to entry. So what I did was move my stops to entry. So I didn't lose the trade, but I didn't bank anything either, whereas I should have banked, 1.5 to 1 profit. Anyway, that's water under the bridge. And what it did present really, if you look at the bigger picture, is a rejection of the daily pivot. That bar is very, very bearish in its nature. That said, it's a terrible place to go short, in my humble opinion, on a smaller time frame. So what I did was I waited till this morning and had a look at the daily chart and thought, yeah, look, I'm not in love with it, but if I don't take this trade and it goes again, I'll be very unhappy with myself. So I've just placed a small stake trade underneath that bar with the stop loss above it, as you can see. And currently we're 10 pips out of the money. Take profit 1 just above the monthly pivot, take profit 2 just above the swing, and I'll let the rest run if and when we're fortunate enough to get through these 2 take profit levels. So it owes me absolutely nothing, but I also don't want to give too much back to the market if it does go against me. So I've only taken this at a 0.25%, so it's no big deal at the end of the day. And for some reason on this chart, it's telling me I'm in at 0.1%. That's interesting. It's probably good if it goes the other way. But on my on my real account, which is my personal account, I have 0.25% only. So it's a very, very small risk trade. If we do get to the point where maybe we get to TP1 and break the monthly pivot, then retrace, I'll probably look to scale back into this with a little bit more seriousness. That's Aussie yen, mate. So going to dinner didn't do me any favors, but you know, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. Do you know, I'm always.
I don't mind trading retracements, and that was a pretty obvious one, I thought.
Yeah. I quite like the Aussie yen because you know, it fascinates me ever since one of the teams said it was a great proxy for the stock market. So because of that, you know, if I think about that, you know, trying to kind of like trade a currency in the same way that I would, or with the same approach that I would trade the FTSE, then the Aussie yen would be a buy for me today. You know, as I said before, well, when I say today, let's say early doors, you know, this early session, probably until we get the maybe even the US session opening up, because the interesting thing is we have got the papers being released at some point today. I don't know when, but those papers will be released at some point. But they, you know, the United States sleeps right now. So while there's nothing doing, there's kind of nothing to see here. I suspect we'll probably get some early positivity, and then as the impeachment papers get closer to being released, then that's when we might start to see some volatility. I mean, he's not going to get impeached today, but the fact that those papers will be released and put into the hands of the Democratic lawmakers, I think could probably cause some fluctuations and waves in the market. But until then, I don't. I think we're probably gonna see just a little bit of at least a pause in the downside. So surely these sorts of areas.
Seeing that.
Yeah, and because of that, I'd look at the Aussie and I think, well, why isn't it a buy? You know, if I think the market's a buy, the FTSE 100 is a buy up until you know, this afternoon, why wouldn't the Aussie? And I quite like that. There's a little inverted head and shoulders going on there. Looks like there's a lower trend line as well from the 23rd, is it, or the 20th? The very lowest, but not the there. Yeah, there's a little trend line going up there. What does that look like? Not quite there yet. So maybe if it comes down and touches that level, that would be of interest to me. And again, just playing it to the top of the pattern. I don't expect a breakout by any stretch, but because I'm looking for just a little bit of relief in the negativity, then why wouldn't the Aussie yen be a decent candidate if it is genuinely that proxy?
Yeah, look, I don't know that I'm too concerned about whether that is or isn't the case, to be fair, but I'm just going to trade the technicals anyway, and technically it's telling me that this is another shorting opportunity. It's not great, as I said. If it was great, if I'd called it up here, then different story entirely. But this is not great because we're very, very close to support number one.
Yeah. So what calls it a shorting opportunity for you, mate? Is it the break of that trend line? Is it?
It's a false break of that trend line, yes.
Yeah.
So we've had a false break to resistance, or a break to resistance. We've come straight back off it with a bang. And this is the reason I don't like it so much, is this candle being a doji. It needs to be a bull bar for me, and it isn't that. If it was a bull bar, I'd probably be more confident. But the second reason is, you know, we're trading straight into support, and it's something I don't like to do. But like I said, you know, I've picked up a lot of money through here, so this really, if it goes again, is fine. If it's not, then I'm not going to do too much damage. So I'm okay with it.
Interesting thing, isn't it? Because I think one of the things that makes the foreign exchange market a little bit tricky is the wick. So when you see these wicks, is there any kind of approach that you follow when you are looking at? Yeah. So what would be, because obviously, you know, a solid bar is so much easier to read than all these wicks, isn't it?
Yes, but wicks in context, like all candles, you know, wicks in context are wonderful, wonderful things, because they do tell you a story, and that story, let's say with this candle here, um, it's had a hell of a fight on its hands. You know, it's really fought hard to get through this resistance level, which was the daily pivot.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it may have been news related earlier. What was on today? I can't even remember what the early news was today.
Oh, we had Japanese. Was it CPI?
We had Kiwi interest rates. I don't know. To be fair,
I'll have a look for you, mate. Yeah, it was the CPI, Bank of Japan core CPI year on year came in at 0.4% rather than the forecast at 0.6. So it was a miss.
a miss for sorry.
A miss for Japan for their CPI data.
Oh, that doesn't help.
No. SSP. I mean, it was only a monetary policy minutes came out as well from Japan. It was only a yellow folder event. So Bank of Japan releasing that seems to be...
well, that tells the story. That's why that's rallied. And
that was 2 hours ago, however.
2 hours ago. Oh, okay, so it's in this bar here. Interesting.
Hmm.
Anyway, the market hasn't thought too much of it. At the end of the day, we're pretty much exactly where we were when the market opened this morning. So there's not too much going on. But this candle, you know, is telling you that obviously it's opened in a bear move or bearish momentum, and it's fought its little stomach out to get up to this level here. It had to get through the daily pivot number one. Probably had to clear this little bit of consolidation number two, did all of that hard work, and then hit the former support level right here. And the market said, no, we're not happy with that. So that's telling you, or it's telling me, that the market's going to have another crack at these lows. That's what that's telling me. When it does, we may see another bounce. If we don't, then it makes this candle good, makes that candle good. So that candle plus that candle for me equals bearish momentum or bearish opportunity. And
yeah,
that's why I've taken the trade. If that candle, however, were sitting, let's say here, in a completely different position, I would be thinking one of two things, exactly what I've just described. But I'd also be thinking, if price were strong enough, or if there were buyers serious enough, then they'd come back into this and they'd drive it through the high. And that is a very, very common occurrence on a support or resistance trade line, what I call trade lines. They're bastardized trend lines, if you like. So they're not depicting a trend. What they are doing is they're telling me where the market has respected a level, and everyone will argue with me and say, well, that only happens in horizontal at price. Well, I can absolutely assure you it happens in a trade line situation as well. These are no flukes. This happens for a reason. And if this were to come back here, that's exactly my theory. My theory is if what I just said about this bar was correct, and we do continue the bearish momentum, then no big deal. But if that bearish momentum fails at support, then what I expect to happen is we'll go and test resistance again. And that resistance, this one's broken, that resistance becomes here. So I'd be looking for that level. And if I were lucky enough to gain an entry to that level, that's where I'd be taking profit, like I should have yesterday whilst I was chowing down. But anyway, that's the candle can tell you two different things. Well, the candle can tell you many different things, but it has to be, for me, to trade it in a certain context. So it has to be at a support or resistance level. And that can be anything, can be horizontal, can be trend line, trade line, pivot, you name it. Fibo level, I don't care if there is an opportunity to say, all right, that bar is a reversal bar, but it's sitting in the middle of nowhere, then I'm not interested in it. But if it's sitting on a resistance level, then as this one is, then why wouldn't I consider it as
Yeah.
as an opportunity? So that's pretty much how I do it with them, mate.
Yeah, gotcha. Interesting, actually. We're just seeing a very similar looking bar on the 15-minute chart on the FTSE. The first 15 minutes has opened up, and it's bullish in as much that it's closed above its open. But just like you've seen with your bullish bar on supports, there is some negativity in the bar as well. So just maybe a few more decisions that need to be made. And possibly it's going to be a timing issue. I'd still be sort of like I'd still err on the side of buying rather than selling. But we're getting very close now to the end of the week and the end of the month, most specifically. So what's going to be the next catalyst is the big question for me, mate. I was actually looking at ECB. I thought Thursday we were going to get the genuine movement, but yesterday there was just a catalogue, as I say, of activity.
Impeachments.
Yeah, I mean, unforeseen as well. Most of it was unforeseen activity, but they just kept coming, and the market was just reacting, and there's some genuine fear out there. So,
what about that young lady who addressed the UN? Wow.
Yeah, Greta Thunberg. Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what Donald Trump did in response to that? Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Oh, yeah, he completely effectively, try to embarrass her by tweeting, "There's a happy young girl with a bright future. That's fantastic to see." So just mocking her, basically. He's just mocking her. So I think she's changed her Twitter account to say a happy young girl with a bright future. So
friends doing that.
No, I mean he made himself look awful, really. She was amazing. She was amazing. And do you know what I love about her story is the fact that everything from the moment she left Sweden to get to America has been as carbon neutral as she can possibly make it. The fact that she
is that right?
Yeah, did the whole thing on a wind-powered boat and everything else. It's just I don't know. She's a pretty special character, isn't she? And every now and again, you get these people in the world that are willing to go that little bit further than everybody else.
Well, we need them because nobody else seems to be doing. Well, that's not true. There are people trying their butts off to make politicians see that the world is in desperate trouble and not economic trouble.
Yeah.
And wasn't that a great point? All you're worried about is the state of the economy. And
yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
The economy won't mean jack if the world doesn't exist. So,
yeah.
Pull your finger out or pull your head out of the sand.
Yeah. Well, do you know? Yeah, it's. I don't know what happens from here because, as you say, that they probably won't. But then there is such a strong swell of support amongst young people. I wonder what they can actually do from here on in. I wonder what the next chapter in the method is going to be from them.
Hopefully, when they grow up and are able to vote, the world's still around, mate.
That's the thing, isn't it? I mean, it's they're probably going to be. We're looking at between 4 and 8 years, depending on sort of how long how old some of these guys are. But what does voting do, really? This is the problem, isn't it? Because unless
it gives us people like the British Parliament, mate. That's what it does.
Yeah, but that the issue with it is that what's the alternative? That's my point, really. I mean, I love the argument about the democracy. If you don't like somebody, you vote somebody else in. But the problem is, what if the next person you vote in is effectively the same as the people that have gone out? Because there's only really 2 options in the country, and both options aren't going to do enough. Because they both focus on the economy more than the environment, and there's only one party really that are all about the environment, and unfortunately, there's other aspects of their political viewpoint which just don't stack up. So
same here in Australia, they're actually ridiculed by the others.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's through fear of them gaining a foothold, but they just ridicule everything that comes out of their mouths.
Yeah.
I wonder if one day their tune will change. We
Well,
will see.
to a degree, they have to, but it's one of those things that you need those green activists in Parliament, but I don't think you want them leading the country because they just have questionable values about certain other things, in my opinion, and that's where the problem lies. That most of them, unfortunately, that campaign around here are slightly fruity. They're nice people, but quite eccentric. Um, and
Yeah,
you need people that are going to relate.
it's a true story. I don't know the answer to the question, mate. And here's the question I need to have answered. What do I do with the pound after Boris's little hiccup?
Yeah, well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because the pound started to rally off the back of that yesterday,
Yeah,
um,
so it did.
and it's just weakened a little bit again now. It's been every single point in the pound is kind of a micro of a view of what's happening on the bigger picture, where the lack of information just makes it a very, very difficult currency to choose. And I think realistically, the only way that we can trade the pound is longer term. I think trying to trade it on the short term with the twists and turns that are so apparent is going to be very, very tricky, if not nigh and impossible. So I don't know whether you can trade it on the short term. I suppose you can. I mean, there's always something, but there's going to be a little bit of relief. Parliament are sitting today. Will Boris Johnson be there? I don't know actually, because he was in the States yesterday. So he's got a great excuse to say I can't, but I can't turn up for Prime Minister's question time because I'm just.
Yeah, you can have a sickie. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's just or just he's still got things to do in America. So there's it's a few hours, isn't it? A difference. So will he be there? Who knows? But they're open again tomorrow, and it's certainly looking like there will be some scrutiny going on today. Sorry, they'll be able to get
Will they go after him?
Yeah.
Do you think?
Yeah, they will. Yeah. They will go after him because, if what he's done is illegal, I mean, in some respects they'll go after him. The question maybe you're really asking me is, will they go after him in as much? Will they call a vote of no confidence? With that, I'm not so sure because I still don't think they've got the numbers. So even though he's done what he's done, I still don't think there's enough Tories that are going to go against him. Even Nicholas Soames, who's the Winston Churchill's grandson, who has been kicked out of the Tory party by Boris Johnson for voting against him, even he, when asked if he would back a vote of no confidence, said he wouldn't. He just wants Boris Johnson to come back and do the job, and he's not interested in backing a vote of no confidence. So it doesn't appear at this stage that there's enough support to dethrone him. I think he probably remains where he is for right now, and it's it's going to be Theresa May all over again. He's going to be a little bit bulletproof for a while, but he's lost a lot. He's lost a lot of votes, and maybe it's a bit like Trump as well. Trump survived for a long time, and maybe this time they get him. Maybe this time they do impeach him, and I suppose that's the key, is that Boris Johnson, he'll be got in the end, but the question is, can he do enough damage between the time that they get him and now to pull us out of the European Union and put us on a different course?
Yeah, I said this morning in my show that I'm going to leave the pound alone right now because I can't work it out. I've got no idea where it goes next. And
well, that looks like a head and shoulders, doesn't it?
It does. And the only thing that would stop me going short at this point is that I don't really have a genuine. Or here's how I trade these things, right? I wait till we get to the top of the range, then I look for a lower high.
Yeah.
I haven't got one. So I need to have that. I need price to get up to here.
Okay.
Then turn around.
Would you have not looked on because surely on a lower term time, like on a 30-minute, you would have got that lower high, wouldn't you?
Oh, maybe. Well, I don't trade at 30-minute charts until this time of day, see. So
I see. Yeah.
It wouldn't bother me if I did. I wouldn't trade it.
Right.
And there's no trade there really for me. That's
Okay.
exactly what I'd look for.
Yeah.
But I need to have something that looks like a tradable candle, and that certainly doesn't.
Right. So even the break of the low of that bar wouldn't have been
No, not for me.
no. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so it's a tricky one, mate. You know, the pound is a tricky one, and as you say, I completely concur and mirror your view. I think it's a difficult one to trade. It's a difficult one to get because you know when it was unfolding yesterday, I was thinking, um, what, which way will the pound trade, depending on the news? Because if they say it's illegal, does that mean the pound will be positive because the suspicion then is that Brexit is less likely to happen? Or will the pound trade weaker because we've got a prime minister who probably won't be in office in the next week? So you know, there's the uncertainty back in. So I even found it difficult on the news. I couldn't work out which way the news was eventually going to be perceived. You know,
Well, nor
it's
could the market.
very very awkward, wasn't it? Very awkward. And that's the thing, you know, that's what was going on with the FTSE yesterday. The FTSE had the impeachment. Sorry, the FTSE had the court case, which was the start of the move. Then we had Chinese rhetoric coming out fairly negative. Then we had the impeachment. So it was just a catalogue of things just battering the market yesterday, just bashing it down and bashing it down and bashing it down. But you know, there is maybe some calm now before the next storm.
Maybe. All right, so I'm not going to trade the pound. You've got no interest in trading the pound. Let's talk
No.
the euro.
Yeah, let's have a look at the euro. Now, the euro's again another interesting one that it cannot catch a bid even at these low levels. And you know, we were saying that it looked like it might have even just created a lower high.
Yeah, look,
Sorry, a higher low.
a higher low, which
Yeah,
it has.
yeah,
And that's still there. It's still intact. So I would be inclined to trade this one.
yeah.
And all I really need to see here is another swing or another something like that at this level would be good. You said something earlier that is very much my MO. Instead of trading that as a higher low, or even that as a higher low, that one's okay because we've had separation, I call it. So we've moved away from the previous low and now come back to it, and therefore we get a what I always call significant low. And this is a significant higher low for mine. This one's insignificant, and the reason it's insignificant is because all we've done is consolidate into it. Yes, technically it's a swing, and yes, technically it's a swing low. But is the market really saying to me that is a higher low? And the answer is going to be no to me, because I need to see that separation. I need to see price actually rally, then come back and give me the higher low that I need. And always it needs to be at support if it's going to be a higher low that I can trade. So if this one turns out to be that, then it becomes a tradable commodity for me because it has moved away. It's rallied, it's come back. So in effect, it's put in a higher high. When I see the higher high give me a higher low in retracement, then that means I can go. But until that happens, there's no way I could have traded that as a higher low. Hope that makes sense. It does to me, but sometimes I get my words jumbled up, and they don't tend to make perfect sense. But to me,
You mean you mispronunciate your worms?
that's right, exactly.
Mark has just said something which is really quite cool, actually. Thanks, Mark, for this. He says, "Hi, Ash. You need 2/3 of Congress to impeach the president, and half of it is Republican, so it's going to be a long shot." Which I think is great information, because actually what that says to me is the market should be buoyant from the low level that it's hit, because if I mean I think we're probably there's probably enough of the people out there that are probably thinking, okay, we can be a bit more confident that there probably won't be any impeachment. Obviously, when that when that document gets released later on, I think there probably will be some selling, and there's going to be some knee-jerk reaction. But longer term and overall, this may well be a non-event for a while.
Yeah, nothing's going to happen. They're not going to vote today, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I actually thought it was worse than that, Mark. I thought it was 75%. I thought it was really a big number they needed. But I'll take your word for it. You know, it's still a massive number when you've got a majority in the House.
Yes.
Not that they do anymore, I suppose. But it is a big number to ask. And for that reason, I can't see it happening. I mean, it's not even a year now out from an election. Do the Republicans really have a new president right now? I don't know.
Yes, mad, isn't it? And the thing is, this is all about Biden as well. Oh, Jeff, you're very quiet. Mark is saying difficult to hear.
Okay, I'll shout.
Oh, that's better.
Well, I'm actually talking into the microphone. That helps.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but especially because this impeachment does seem to be about Biden as well, doesn't it? Because it seems that Donald Trump, I don't know if you're aware of what this is all about, Jeff, but or anybody else, but I'll just give you a little synopsis. Is that Donald Trump apparently is trying to look for some dirt on Joe Biden from the Ukrainian president because of some dodgy deals that have been done over there with Joe Biden's son. And he has come out and said that unless he can get some dirt on Joe Biden, then he will not be providing the Ukraine with any finance for any weapons.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what it's about. You know, he's come out and said that that he's not going to fund these countries anymore because the rest of the world aren't funding them. That's what he said. That's why he said he's not giving any money to support the Ukraine, effectively against Russia. But what the Democrats are saying is the reason that he's not given them any money is because he wants some dirt on Joe Biden. So unless he gets some dirt, he's not going to give him any money. So it's a bit of a bribe, which is an impeachable offence. So it's interesting that it's about a rival of his as well, because obviously Joe Biden is his presidential rival. So if Trump gets impeached, then you'd have to say that Joe Biden may well become a bit of a shoo-in.
Sorry, mate. I'm just having a look at this, see if it's tradable. It probably is. Okay, we're just going to place a small trade on here.
Great.
I should have looked at that before. Euro long. Okay, we've got a buy stop at 110.02 or 01, 110.01 will do. I think that's right. And our stop will be under that candle at 109.91. Oops, that's up. And there we go.
Great.
I don't know why I can't see my entry.
I think it's because of your orange. The orange box is.
Really?
I think so. The orange box seems might be just disguising the color that's under it a little bit.
Okay.
What is that orange box?
What is it? It's a range.
Oh, you just put the range in orange. Yeah.
There, nice. See.
Oh no, it's not there on the grey either, is it? Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably a setting that I just haven't.
Yeah, you can change those when you go into your trade levels. You can change those colors.
Yep. Anybody who's following this trade, very important that you take profit right there, just before we hit the daily pivot. So you're looking for, what's our risk on this? Our risk is not quite 10 pips. Let's say 10 pips. we need to take profit at 7 if we get entered, or if our order gets filled as it should, and it won't, I can assure you, it'll probably turn out to be something like 5.5 pips you need to take profit at. Okay. So that is that. Essentially what we're trading here is a false break of this little intraday trade line. So we've broken it, we've consolidated below it, we've come back above it, and now we've rejected that level. So it's the same as always. It's cause and effect. If the bears are in charge here, they're going to take off. And if they're not, then the bulls are going to answer, and they're going to come back to the most obvious resistance level, in my opinion. And that, of course, is the daily pivot first up. So euro, we haven't really spoken about. We've dismissed the pound.
No.
In terms of fundamentals, where do we go here with the euro? It's kind of similar in that, as you said before, it can't catch a bid. I've been bearish it for weeks and weeks and weeks, weeks since I saw this bar. I know I keep repeating myself, but whilst ever that bar's there, I'm bearish.
Yeah.
Until it's broken, till the high is broken, and I can totally see that we've got a tweezer bottom sitting here, and that is a bullish sign at a support level. But this trumps it as far as I'm concerned, and I'm just waiting for this level to break. So I'll just keep trying. At the moment, I'm long because of a situation I see, but longer term, I'm definitely bearish still. And this is a little bear flag, perhaps on this move. I don't know. Maybe it's getting a bit long in the tooth on a 30-minute chart. But I can definitely see the on the bigger time frame, the double bottom sitting there, and now potentially another higher low. So it's worth a try to the daily pivot. And if we get beyond there, then maybe the monthly pivot or the weekly pivot. We'll see.
Yeah.
So, sorry, you were saying?
Draghi's tomorrow, mate. That's all I was going to say. That we got Mario Draghi as a potential driver for the price action in the euro. It is certainly a difficult one in respects that those, we've hit that double bottom and it's been pretty strong. I mean, it's been very strong when you consider that green bar bounce off. The white bar bounce off the double bottom.
Yeah, that was a crazy move, wasn't it?
It was mad. Yeah,
couldn't quite believe it. That it actually went back as strongly as it did.
Yeah, it was mad, and now we're just drifting, almost painfully to the downside. So I think that anybody that was looking for that bar to suggest that actually we could start to catch a bit on the euro has been quite quickly
disappointed at this point.
Yeah. And it's going to make that one a really difficult one to make a case for some upside for right now. I suppose if it comes back down to the double bottom, then you try again. Going in light, but anywhere in between, it's just going to be a bit of a grind.
Yeah, I can't get short though. I can't find a reason to get short either. With my bias, what I'd need to see is resistance broken and false break of resistance. Now that could happen here, and that's probably the best place I can see in the near term is if we do get to this level, weekly pivot and trend line, and force a false break of that level. That would get me in. I guess another go off the monthly pivot if that becomes resistance again, same scenario. But I can't go short here. It just doesn't allow me to do so until this low's gone anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm stuck with I guess little intraday trades that trade within this range. I don't mind that. That's all cool. I think that's perfectly okay. That's the way I go anyway, so I don't have a problem with it.
Well, we don't probably have too much, mate, when it comes down to it. The FTSE is as I say, you know, I'd have to say my bias is for long, but I wanted to wait for that first 15 minutes, and it looked fairly bullish, and I have to say now it's looking kind of negative, and there's part of me that is thinking that we may well sell into to some of that data, and it might be worth just taking a short. Now, I don't like taking breakouts to the downside. I hate it actually, but
you're like me with Aussie yen. I'm very cautious about this trade, and that's why I've only gone in very light.
yeah, and this is what I'm looking at down here. You know, that it's tried to get up and it's just failed and failed and failed. Maybe wait for the top of the hour, but I have to say this is looking pretty heavy, even with the divergence down here, which you know, I don't treat this divergence by with any stretch, and I dislike it quite vehemently when people teach divergence as a trade entry.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't buy into it at all. I think it's
another box to tick. That's all.
Exactly that. Yeah, exactly that. I used to know somebody that, or in fact, didn't used to know this person. I once bought a course that traded a stochastic cross after overbought, oversold, and you know, after it was overbought and oversold, and there was divergence. Then on maybe the MACD, then there was a stochastic cross, and it was, you know, tradable long. And of course, you can find enough trades that work out, you know, to sell a course on that, but it's just not a very solid way to trade. You know, you might hit a decent run for a while, but it's not something that you can look at longer term. But what I do with this indicator is tell me, you know, do I have any other reason to go long? Because if I do, then this is, you know, this signal becomes a decent signal. But what it might well do is stop me going short more than promoting the long. Now, we're not at the end of the hour yet, and maybe we need to wait to the top of the hour to see if this is going to hold. But it looks very weak. It's looking very weak, mate. It's attempted to get up. It's managed to find some resistance just you know, at the top end of the gap, and push itself back down again, and it's currently holding, which is a pretty good sign, I suppose. But let's see how it ends up. This is the 15 minutes, so you can see that the 15 minute is still a fairly weak bar, and this is the current 5 minute bar, which is you know, attempting to get some another buying opportunity. Now, of course, if this 5 minute bar ends up as an engulfing bar, that is a trade to the upside. No two ways about it. Don't mind that at all. Actually, I quite like it. So let's see what happens with this in the next minute, because if this ends up here and closing, probably would be better if it closed above this area of resistance. So we get a close above 72.11 on the futures, which is going to be 72. Let's call it 72.48 on the cash. Then there is a trade. That's the bid price. The bid price has to be at 72.11 or 72.48 on the cash to be a trade. If it doesn't, then
it's going to be a tight photo.
Yeah, it looks like it will be a photo finish. We've got 8 seconds to go with this particular bar, and it's not going to do it, mate. That's not good enough for me.
Cool.
It's not bad, but it's not good enough. And one of the reasons is that, you know, we have to then flip to the 15, and the 15 does not give us any comfort whatsoever. So we might well be looking at some further flushing out here before we do genuinely pick up. So that will be that for the day for me. I'm gonna, well, not for the day, sorry, for today's you know, session.
This session, yeah.
For this session, I'm going to look for an opportunity to trade. Anything I take short, I'm going to be very, very wary of. In actual fact, in this area, it's going to be I'm going to be wary either way, because I'm not in a particularly good position. But you know, I'd like to go long here just for just up to the daily pivot, if I'm honest. That would be my preference. Whether I get a decent enough opportunity, I don't know. The short will just be because there may well be a genuine flushing out, and it might be worth being on board. So it's not my preference, but let's see. Let's see if I get an opportunity. But I may not today, mate. This might be it. It might even be it for the month. Who knows?
Who knows, buddy? It's Wednesday. Only one real strong trading day left in the week for me, and I've got an order long on the euro. Just to summarise, if anybody wants to follow that, I've got an entry at 1.1001, 1.1001, and the stop loss is at 1.0991. So a 10 pip risk. I'm going to take profit at 1.1008. I'll probably take half off the table at that point, and I will close the trade at 1.1024. So I'm only after about 14 pips. Sorry, 24 pips. Is that 24 pips? That is 22 pips, sorry, 22, 23 pips with a risk of 10. So that'll be more than enough if we can get to that level. And the other trade that I'm still in, of course, those of you who are following the Aussie yen trail, still around about the entry level on that at the moment. As I said, not 100% confident on that trade, but it's on a daily chart, so there's plenty of room for wriggles. That is pretty much me, mate.
Okay, so there's a question from Mark, which I actually really like, that I think we should address, if possible. Sure. Guys, have you ever used Bollinger Bands as part of your strategy? And I think that's a fascinating one for you, really, because Bollinger Bands tend to be quite good for ranges, if I'm not wrong. Is that something that you've ever looked at?
Yeah, I have looked at it. And there used to be a trader in the Actions to Wealth team who used to trade only Bollinger Bands. And it was fascinating to watch, but the strategy, I don't know if it was just a bad run or whether it was traded wrong. I don't know. It just didn't work. It didn't seem to work too well. And the losers were, the drawdown was horrendous.
Yeah.
Good winners, but the drawdown was horrendous, and that doesn't fit with my risk profile at all. So I just left it alone. I totally get Bollinger Bands, and I can absolutely see why they work. Trading them, I've never tried it any time serious. I have had a couple of goes at it, but like the trader who was trading them, I couldn't make it work for me on a profitable basis, so I just left it alone. But I've had a crack. Yeah,
it'd be one of those things that I could probably do some reading up on it if you want us to have a look at it, Mark. I'm kind of more than happy to check these things out, because but everything that has been around in the market previously will still be relevant today. Potentially, and I'm sure Bollinger Bands is certainly one of the ones that there's no reason for that to be out of date. So, if you want to look at it, then we certainly can. There's enough information that I've got on Bollinger Bands in my trading library, if you like. I've got a library of books that will certainly cover a little bit on Bollinger Bands. So we can definitely discuss them in further detail. In fact, why don't we try and do that either tomorrow or next Monday, Jeff? Have a little read up on it and touch on this part of the market, because
look, I think the best way to do it is actually put them on your chart, and let's do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Where are they? Where do we find them?
Oh well, should we do it tomorrow or next week, just so we got some
we got to fly now.
Yeah.
We'll just have to get these periods right and deviations right. But the way to do that, in my humble opinion, and we will do this tomorrow or Monday, is just see where the market has reacted off them.
Yeah.
And if we get that right, like the pivots, we can use them in concert with that. And again, just another box to tick. Why not?
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely. Okay, mate. All right, well, let's call it a day, mate. Great as always, and we'll be back same trade time, same trade channel tomorrow.
What time?
5 to 8.
Oh my goodness! Don't you be late, and that's a date.
Great stuff. Okay, guys, see you tomorrow.
Have a good one, guys. Bye.